Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Valley of Death, and I'm going to be playing with Task Force 45 with the balanced deployment type. This is quite an interesting American division because it has access to both Brazilian units and also Americans of Japanese descent in the form of the Nisei. So some really interesting units. Let's have a look at what we're getting down today. So I'm going to be starting off with a bunch of M8s. I'm spreading these out down these roads in order to try and catch out enemy transports and just get the better of any units that were unloaded early on. I've got some cavalry scouts that are going to be deploying relatively short on the bottom of the hills here to see if we can catch out things with the bazooka. Then we've got some engineers that are just going to be holding the position near this little factory or lumber mill. And then we've got a couple of M4A1s that are going to be following up as well. On the right hand side, I've got a couple of M10s that are going to be holding position here with a couple of converted gunners, and the cavalry scouts with a converted gunner leader. Really important unit this because it provides discipline, which takes away the disheartened trait from the converted gunners. Then we have the Bofors back here and a poor engineer that got left behind. Also, I brought up a supply early on that's going to be hiding behind this tree line so that we can continue to resupply the APCR on the M10s in order to make good use of that 2,000 meter range that those APCR shells have. You can see here the M8's already doing a pretty good job. We're going to be pinning down a bunch of units. The Aufkara getting pinned, the Lati getting pinned, Kivari getting pinned, just harassing them nicely with the 50 cal and the 37mm. Not doing too much damage because the 37mm itself doesn't really have much HE, and the 50 cal kind of struggles to get on target, but does cause a lot of suppression. Now I could potentially try for a surrender with something like the M4, but the M8s themselves can't go for the surrender because recon units do not push the front line. The T-26 is going to be coming up there, finishing off one of the M8s, and yeah, we're going to be ending up against the 17th Division today, which is primarily Finnish forces. So 81mm mortars are going to be brought in. These are going to help me establish smoke in order to push through and take the opposite tree lines, but I do need to be careful because I am up against the Finnish, and the Finnish will deal with my infantry pretty well at close range due to the Molotovs and also the Suomi submachine gun, which has the 150 meter range, which means that when they get a lot closer, they're going to basically have 100% accuracy, and that's why they deal so much damage. Focke-Wulf 190 coming in early on, not managing to find the kill onto the M4A1. I think the 50 cals caused just enough suppression for that not to get the kill. Very nice Focke-Wulf that though, with those Panzerblitz rockets.
Yes, sir.
So engineers currently just waiting to unload, and then we're going to push up with the M4 and cover them as they push over the ridge. Really nice cinematic push up here. Got the cavalry scouts coming with me so that I can see into the edge of these tree lines, because this is going to be the part that's really difficult to push across. As soon as I get a little bit of a foothold into the forest, then I'll be absolutely fine. But getting there is going to be the difficult part because my opponent today is going to be kind of cutting me off on the open ground. You see the machine gun there, going to be able to pin the cavalry scouts. The T-26 is going to cause issues for my M8s. I can maybe get the M4A1 on target of the T-26, but the other thing I do need to worry about, of course, is AT guns that could be in this tree line, which is most likely the case. And on the right, we're still just chilling here. Not going to be putting on too much pressure there for the time being because I'm going to just start putting down some mortar fire to first of all pin the machine gun and also pin the enemy infantry that was firing at me further back, and then I'm going to be providing smoke so that these converted gunners can push on through and try and get a little bit of foothold towards this flag, because this is an offensive flag that we could try and take. Meanwhile, this M8 not being shot at because it's currently using the Death Blade to cover itself. But there goes the smoke, and the converted gunner's going to be coming through. As I mentioned earlier, having a converted gunner leader really important, not just because it as the discipline trait though, because you can also, of course, increase the veterancy of these forces. So we're giving 1 vet plus taking away the disheartened trait, and that is such a huge bonus to these 15 strength squads because they do have M1 Garans and the BAR, and that combination is really strong, especially like the M1 Garans. They have really good DPS, especially at like the 500 meter range compared to something like a Car 98. The smoke's coming down nicely, allowing the converted gunners to push up. Going to be bringing up more of the Shermans to give us a hand in trying to make some ground. Now later on in today's replay, we will be seeing plenty of use out of the Brazilian and Nisei forces, but they are only available from phase B, so watch out for them in just a moment, as we're 4 minutes left till phase B now, and I can start to bring in those better forces. The Task Force 45 does somewhat struggle in the early game to get a bit of traction. It is almost entirely reliant on your Shermans and your converted gunners. I think if you were to make it into like a Vanguard deck, you could probably get away with it, but unfortunately there, M4 going down to the Panzerblitz missiles, or rockets, sorry. That was the damaged one though, so not too much of a concern. Taka Ampoya taken out. We're going to be taking out the machine gun there as well. So we're starting to make a little bit of progress. Converted gunners drawing their fire and allowing the Shermans to get the kills. Now I'm going to be bringing up a Bofors because we don't want to get hit continually by those Focke-Wulfs. And I'm bringing up lots and lots of more converted gunners with the converted gunner leader. Now the other thing that's super important about the start for Task Force 45 is bazookas. And having the cavalry scouts with your converted gunners is really important, because they provide the AT that would otherwise allow tanks to just like run you down, right? If you didn't have any AT, like these bazookas, these converted gunners can get absolutely wasted, especially if the converted gunner leader gets taken out first, which like a good player would try and focus down. And then all of the other converted gunners are now disheartened again. They take extra suppression, and you just get these like mass surrenders. So you've got to be super careful about that. And then bring up the cavalry scouts behind with the bazooka and just take out those pesky armored targets. Allow your Shermans to continue engaging at range with the HE and with the 50 cals. So smokes works. We've managed to get right up onto the objective, and taking out the initial forces in the area has allowed us to secure this 13-11 for the team. And now we're going to be engaging these units that are dug in on the edge of this forest. But with the converted gunner leader nearby, these converted gunners are going to absolutely roast these forces. The 60th don't have the best medium to long range engagement tools, because they're using like old rifles and DPs, so getting absolutely minced by the M1 Garans and BARs of these converted gunners. And you can see how quickly we just evaporated those units on the edge. But as soon as we get close range with them, that's when their submachine guns are going to start winning out. So I do need to be careful of that. Blenheim now coming in is going to be able to pin down the converted gunner. Doesn't quite get a direct hit though, so that's still going to be providing its bonuses. And you can see, because these 60th were moving, they are going to get cleaned up by the converted gunners at close range. Now my cavalry scout's going to try and move forwards. I'm also, of course, moving up the M4A1. Now whilst I'm actually deep in cover, I don't have to worry too much about having AT with my converted gunners. It's more a concern of having the converted gunner leader with them. But if I'm going to be hanging around on the edge of the tree lines, then I'm going to need it to deal with things like this T26. Now BF-109 G8 is going to be taken out. Actually, that wasn't T26, it was a Sturmy. Yeah, that's even more important for me to take out. So the cavalry scouts going to have to get over there at some point, because that's going to easily take out my Shermans at close range. And you can see the cavalry scout now being reassigned to the right hand side there to help clean that out, while the converted gunners continue to move forwards, because we are under mortar fire. So we want to keep our move on, otherwise that mortar fire will be able to land on my forces quite effectively and wipe them out. So 2 M10 destroyers going to be coming up. Those will certainly be able to help trade against Stugs. Even at close range, you just got to make sure the turret's facing the right direction. Because the big problem that can occur is M10s, their turrets turn really, really slowly. And it's not something that's like a stat necessarily shown on the information card of a tank. But certain tanks have faster turning turrets than other. And the M10 is one that has a really, really slow turret. So you've got to make sure it's facing the right direction. And the main way to do that is just make sure that you have like HE turned off, have the machine gun turned off, and then it'll automatically face towards their like armor that they can see. So you got to keep eyes on what you want to target and keep your M10 closest to that thing, and then it will automatically face towards it. Now here I'm just going to be bringing in the P47s. We're going to just be dropping this on the roads here. Unfortunately, that one quite far back ends up bumping into the enemy AA there. I think I saw some like mortar fire and stuff coming from those positions, so I was going for that shot. Now Sturmey's now sneaking up. M4A1 going to be able to sneak forwards and find a shot. We're going to reverse into cover so the Sturmey can't fire back. M8 now gets the shot instead, so a nice juggle there, gets the Sturmey kill. And now I'm going to be trying to get the cavalry scouts to take out the Sturmey here. Job done. The rest of the converted gunners are still falling back because of the Sextisgerüchma, which are causing me problems at the moment. But the M4A1 can move nice and close and start getting shots on those. But yeah, this sort of fanatical, close range Finnish infantry is really, really rough. So currently having to back up completely from those engagements, and unfortunately my converted gunner leader that was in the forest did go down. So Eilemal currently doing a good job of pushing me out, but Vector getting a nice kill there on the Panzer IV on the left flank. Now it's time for the Japanese descendants and the Brazilian engineers to do their job, the Engenheiros. They're coming in, hopefully, to sweep through there and clean them out. And the Nisei set up really, really nicely. I'll show off their weapons once they unload. So M8 just moving away to make sure it doesn't get hit by that stray artillery fire. And mortars are going to be trying to come into play to deal with this infantry. Now the leader there was providing 2 veterancy to the Sextisgerüchma, so we know that there's a commander nearby. So Eilemal using that to really buff his chances against my infantry at close range, but my M4A1 going to be able to move in at close range and get the gun on target here, which is nice. Kivari moving across. Did lose their defensive bonus for a moment there, which isn't going to help them out too much. Now the Brazilian forces pushing forwards. So the Brazilian engineers not equipped all that well, like M3 grease gun and Springfields, but they do still have TNT. So at close range, like having that specialized close range weapon is certainly going to help them win engagements against other non-specialized infantry. And alongside Nisei, they can potentially do a decent job. The Nisei are fanatical. They have the Thompson, they have the 9 M1 Garands and the 2 BARs. BARs do have the move and shoot, which means they can be used within 100 meters, unlike things like MG34s and MG42s, which have to be like stationary in order to fire, and then they get also the negative of having, or not being able to be used within 100 meters. The same goes for these like 60th, and though you can see that they have a move and shoot light machine gun. But in this case, just going to be looking to overwhelm these. Like having the Thompson is still really good because it does have 55% accuracy. So we're still able to do some damage, and as long as one of the Nisei kind of sponges both of the Molotovs of the Yakari, then we're getting a decent amount of work done there. This Nisei, you can see, is also pinning down a couple of Tankan Toyota, that were on the road, but unfortunately my Inyan Heiros not going to be able to stay in position for too long, as after the rocket strike came in they never were able to recover, and that was unfortunate. T-26 though, putting pressure onto the M10 is not good for me at all, because it does have a chance to penetrate. T-47 coming in, trying to get napalm on target once again. Unfortunately for me, gets hit very hard by AA. Does get weapon jammed, but the Mitchell now coming through, looking to drop bombs onto the forest here so that the Nisei and the cavalry scouts can move through to secure that. So bombs land nicely, and we're able to start moving the Nisei in there. Unfortunately for me, the Mitchell does get shot down on the way out. The enemy AA has risen in number quite substantially. So we're continuing to just try and push into this area. Since I already have a foothold here, it makes sense for me to continue basically trying to push in here until I get kind of pushed out of this forest area. But as long as I have infantry in here, it's worth me continuing to try and get more in there. Unfortunately, enemy artillery does finish off the M10. Not too much I can do about that. Focke-Wulf's coming in for the rocket strike onto my other M10. And my Bofors not far enough up, so the M10 getting hit in the side armor there with those rockets does go down pretty quick. But on this backside, keep an eye on this Nisei. This Nisei was an absolute hero. Highland comes through, cleans up the 60 Churukma, takes out the Yakari. Another Yakari turns up low on health, takes out that too. T-26 turning up, bazooka on target. Boom. Nisei absolutely wrecking face on the backside of this forest, and now finding a Pack 40, going to be able to take that out as well. Just so much damage being done by that one infantry squad on the backside. M4 105 and M4 101, or M4A1, sorry, coming in to push up this road. Imagine that was an M1A1. We haven't quite got to Abrams yet. The Nisei here going to be microing them forwards and backwards to try and get rid of that AA piece as well. Unfortunately, it took a few losses there. But with the Vekotin trying to move away, we're going to be able to clean that up as it moved out of cover. So yeah, Nisei doing a fantastic job there. That's like 3 infantry squads, Pack 40, taking out the Vekotin. Now going to be shifting even further up to see if we can catch out enemy infantry on the road. But here come some American engineers, plus more Nisei, as we do need to try and secure our position here. And the M4105 with the M4A1 should be able to like push up the road here and sort of accompany the Nisei deep towards this flag. Because at the moment things are still pretty even across the board. You can see that we are actually behind on flags briefly here at this point, so I am very much inclined to try and get a move on and capture this flag, and then this flag eventually. That's kind of the objective that I have going on here. Another beautiful kill from the Nisei. Managed to take out the SDKZ 7-1 at close range as well, so we're absolutely tearing through the back line, now creeping up onto enemy artillery potentially. As more Nisei arrive to reinforce, more engineers arriving with them. So the engineers are going to be able to use their TNT in order to pin down the enemy sort of close range infantry, and then the Nisei can just sort of move in, get the DPS down with those weapons. BT-42, that was the artillery unit, gets taken out. Very nice indeed. So and that Nisei still going on the back line whilst we continue to make our play on the front. More and more Nisei arriving. Got the converted gunner leader here to provide extra veterancy. Pack 40 doesn't last long. Nisei taking out another unit of infantry in the truck with the bazooka, also taking out the machine gun on the backside. Pack 40 though does go down to the Nisei, pushing up the road. And have them covered nicely by these M4s. So engineers managing to get a TNT into the 68, and unfortunately not quite the best target because they were already only down to 2 men. But plenty more engineers on the way. Nisei making some good ground. I'm going to be pushing up through the light cover on this left-hand side, because if I can get in there, that would be fantastic, as I'd be able to kind of cut off reinforcements on this crossroads from getting into the forest easily, and then we can take full control of this forest and put pressure onto that flag. But meanwhile on my left, Vector has done a good job. He's managed to get that flag briefly. So things going all right. On the right-hand side, still kind of just holding ground whilst we continue to push up on the left. Another enemy truck getting taken out as the Nisei claim another kill. Use up all their bazookas, and another squad of infantry surrendering there. Absolutely huge. So now Nisei up against Yakari. Don't have to be as worried about suppression on Nisei because they are fanatical, which means they won't surrender if they do get full pinned. But of course, at close range versus Yakari, those submachine guns are going to be doing a decent amount of damage. So you don't want to just let them sit there. We are going to be falling back with those best we can. Blenheim managing to get through here. Although we have been able to get some decent DPS down with our AA in order to get a couple kills here and there. Unfortunately, my opponent not respecting my coverage of this crossroads. We take it another 260, and I told you how important this crossroad would be. Finally, Elamar is going to realize that I have that covered, and he is going to be unloading early. So now is my chance to really kind of clean out this forested area, because if I can stop them from moving down this road, then this road is now mine to use to reinforce this forested area, and we're going to be able to make some good ground here. So I've got an AT gun on the way. Well, sorry, an AA piece. This is the big 90mm gun. That is an AA piece. Can do some serious damage to airplanes, but also has pretty good capability against ground forces. So we're going to be seeing it in its hybrid role today. Nisei 6-pounder, a couple more M4s on the way. Because I do have quite a lot of M4s in this division, making sure that I make good use of them is really, really important. Because one thing that I will say is, in a situation like this where you're fighting over a big forest, it can be very tempting to just bring in only infantry, because you think that like only infantry is the best way to play this. But truth be told, having M4s like on these roads in between is going to be really, really helpful, and it also sort of balances the amount of troops you're bringing in at one time, so you don't end up running out of infantry, because it's very easy to do that in this sort of situation. So I'm trying to avoid that best I can. Highland down to one man in his squad now. That Nisei still providing damage onto enemy infantry. Looking to take one more with him. The Yakari going down there. Next unit of Yakari coming up. Unfortunately, he's a goner. But what a hero. So, 5 more Nisei squads on the way. Nisei 6-pounder going to be moved up into the light cover here to make sure that we can shoot at these transports further down the road. Maybe cover off the left side too. But as you can see, we're still trying to clean this out. Make this a safe place for me to be. M4105 doing a great job against those infantry. 6-pounders unloaded perfectly in time so that we can get shots onto the Sturmy. I'm going to be able to reverse out of line of sight of the Sturmy with the M4 so we don't take any damage there. And the 6-pounder finishes the job. Meanwhile, engineers are slowly pushing from left to right. And with this relatively clear so far, I thought I would sort of try and poke this right-hand side. So the converted gunners that I had here, plus the cavalry scouts, are going to be making a move across to the other side. And if I don't end up spotting anything too scary, we can then move up with the M10s to support our push. M4105 under threat from enemy infantry, but this infantry does not have any AT, so able to quickly clean up those squads. Stug 4 taken out as well. It was on the left-hand side here. The 90mm AA getting its AP on target. So this has 160mm of penetration with 40% accuracy. But best of all is the 12 round per minute rate of fire. Absolutely huge. Unfortunately, the M4-105 finally going to be going down, and the 6-pounder now coming under fire from some pretty heavy artillery. But those Nisei going to be cleaned up. Catch out some Yakari on the road though, so those Nisei take them out. And at the moment we're holding this flag, we're holding this flag. So back to a 13-11 for the team, as we are struggling a little bit in the town on the left-hand side. So, Nisei versus Sekstieten at close range. These guys have 3 Suomis, so I was actually really surprised to see like the Nisei doing so well at close range. But I think it comes down to the 2 vet bars that they can utilize to get that suppression from their light support weapon. M4's going to have to back off here while the engineers come and try and clean this out. Good kill onto the enemy bomber there, another HE-111 down. Nisei at range against Sekstieten now going to win as well. So, and the Nisei really proving themselves in this situation. DO-27 or 217 going down. Another one coming in there. This is where these big 90mm guns are really strong. Stops the Focke-Wulf 190 there from getting a decent amount of rockets down. The 217 gets shot out the sky. We've also got 2 vet Bofors here as well, because in phase B I do have a couple of 2 vet Bofors. They don't need to have leaders near them. That way you don't have to like waste having leaders nearby if they're not anywhere near your other troops. But the Nisei still doing a fantastic job here. Unfortunately for me, the 17th Division are going to have a serious amount of forces up their sleeve when it comes to infantry. And it's all pretty scary infantry, so I've got to try and make ground as quickly as possible, because I most likely will run out of resources before he does on the infantry front. Now on this right hand side, the converted gunners do get pushed off, but it does allow me to push forwards the M10s and start getting shots on the Tanke Toyota and the other infantry squad that were holding that position. But these engineers, they've managed to take this flag here. We're now sweeping up through this forest area to secure this flag. M4's got an eye on that T-junction as well. The Yakari trying to sneak up on me here in order to use their Panzerfaust. Not going to be able to, because the M4A1 does aim very quickly indeed. Like a second squad going to be coming out of the woodwork, but they're also getting pinned very quickly. No chance whatsoever. So now we have some more of the Brazilian forces on the way, the Brasilians, and then we have the more Nisei. We've also got the snipers coming in now, the Brazilian snipers. These I've brought in with half-tracks because the half-track also has recon. Really nice combination. We've got eyes here on a Vickers 75. Strong AA unit. Also good at taking on units on the ground. In this case, just gets pinned way too fast. I'm going to get my sniper into cover, trying to get the half-track into cover as well, because the Panther on the left here was potentially causing me issues, but I'm going to be bringing up these T-70s to have a go. Now these are basically sort of prototype Hellcats, and unfortunately for me, kind of put them into a bit of a rough situation there, so I lost the T-70 very early on. But the recon half-track, one of the recon half-tracks is going to be continuing to move through with the M4A1. The engineers are just trying to get rid of these pockets of resistance. This engineer's dived straight through the back line, and now we've cleaned up things on the front line here. Well, the M10s are going to be able to push forwards, as they've used up most of their HE actually, and also their 50 cal ammo is pretty low. Yeah, with the converted gunner leader here, these 2 converted gunners still going to be pretty effective. On the backside, we're starting to bump into a lot of the support weapons, so enemy 40mm AA, taking out a mortar there as well, thanks to the M4A1. because I realized at one point that basically we've broken through big time on this right side forest. So I'm trying to get my M4 into a very, very strong position as quickly as possible. But unfortunately for me, there is a Panther here that's really going to spoil the fun for the Sherman. So the Sherman goes down. My AA on the backside here getting hit very hard by enemy artillery. I find the carve that has pushed me off this flag. So it's up to the Brasilians to clean them out. Nisei also ready to help if needed as we bump into another carve there. 60th inbound on the crossroad. Starting to really develop our position nicely. You can see I brought up another 90mm AA piece. We've got the Bofors to move up. My mortars have moved up. I've got the 60mm mortars. These are on a smart order to fire at will. Because they're not very long range, like 1,800 meters, and they aim pretty fast, it's pretty good to have them on fire at will. They're also extremely cheap. Like you can just buy a 40-point mortar, just put it in the forest, and then just put it on fire at will, and it will just automatically fire anything that it sees. Really, really handy. Now it is a little bit delayed, so if your opponent's moving around, they're not going to be as effective, but still pretty useful. Now unfortunately for me, on this left side, don't have too much in the way of AA, so whilst the 90mm does get a shot across, that cluster's going to hit both those M10s quite nicely. It doesn't get a kill on either of them because the cluster's too spread out, but it's still going to be something that's going to cause my M10s to die easier later down the line. Now a nice kill from the 6-pounder onto this Panther. Managed to get a really good side shot. That's going to force this other Panther to start moving back. And whilst the Nisei 6-pounder is taking the shot there, we're going to move up with the T-70, but the T-70 misses its shot and the Panther gets the kill. It's a little bit unfortunate on my end, but 60mm mortars still firing away at things that they can see in range. The right side's now being pushed in completely as well. There is another flag here that I could take, and whilst I do now control this flag, and this flag, left side's unfortunately collapsed quite a bit, and we still haven't got a foothold back in that town. So instead of helping on the left in this game, I basically opted to really just push as hard as I can on my side because I was in a decent situation to do so. Like the Nisei were performing exceptionally well in this game, even against units that are actually relatively well specialized at close range, like the 6 Iskaruchma. It's like as soon as they throw that TNT, like the Nisei and the Brasilians can just come back and take them out. And mortars are just like constantly firing now. This is another nice pincer here onto a Stug. So the Stug here really struggling to get a shot on target because if you have two units at 90 degrees on the Sturmy, it doesn't know which way to face and it can't quite align its gun. So able to take that out nice and easy. And we're also going to be taking out a Vespa on the backside there, thanks to the 203mm howitzer. So that absolutely smacked this on the road there. I had this on counter battery, and my opponent had his artillery on the road, so it ended up doing a ton of damage with that shot. But this is a really, really strong artillery piece. Look at the damage, 10.14, huge. We managed to make good ground now on the right side of this forest. We have had to concede a little bit here for the time being, but it just requires me to bring in more infantry. So I've got more of the Brazilians on the way to give us a hand. M10s are on the road, ready to help against enemy tanks. Ju-87 is hanging about. Going to be using the P-47 to try and bomb the 60th. Unfortunately, second time round, Ju-87 does do the job. Nice napalm there. Going to be able to burn out those 60th. And I've got a Mustang that's going to be coming in here. Able to get that kill. Very nice indeed. Now there is a Focke-Wulf 190D9 here. Really scary fighter. Can match up quite nicely to the Mustang due to its 670 km/h speed and also its 220 mils. You can see that I am actually using the P-47s to try and get shots on target, but now there's 3 Focke-Wulf 190D9s in the sky. Things not looking so great, but if they come over my AA, I can at least force some of them off, so that's good. And as soon as I'm coming past these Focke-Wulf 190s, I'm just going to be telling that one to leave. At the moment, I can't really tell this one to leave because otherwise it will just get killed. So I'm going to come around here. We're going to get the Mustang to just try and finish off that Focke-Wulf on the back side. Unfortunately, actually we did manage to just get that one. Didn't think we did. And the last one they're getting forced off by AA. That dogfight coming to an end. Now on the left hand side, Vector direct hit onto enemy artillery. So it's getting to that point now where the right side is really broken down. My extra infantry has arrived. We're supporting all the roads well with these M4s and also the M10 on the right hand side. So we're now 15-9, now 16-8 as the left side is being recovered slightly. We're able to take advantage of our substantial lead on this side. Vector also pushing to the left in order to take another flag. So that's going to bring us up to the double tick. As the Nisei continue making ground, the Brazilians also doing a good job here, helping clean out enemy infantry. Converted gunners still alive here on the right hand side. These 2 converted gunners were just camped out here for so long, have managed to stay alive for the time being. M10 slowly moving up the road here. I'm not too concerned about my M4s moving up this road because there's not too much in the way of like enemy AT. There is this like tank and Toyuntas. I've got to take care of them, of course. Those Panzerschrecks could cause problems for my tanks. Focke-Wulf 190s coming in. Unfortunately, AA is not going to be able to stop the one throwing rockets on the right, but the M10 manages to stay alive. This Focke-Wulf also looking for a strike but not finding it. Don't manage to shoot it down though. Unfortunately, this Focke-Wulf is very fast. And they do fly pretty low, so it does make it difficult for the AA to get on target. Nice kill as the Nisei come through on the backside here, find the enemy's heavy artillery. And these big guns going to get taken out. The M4A1 managing to clean up the enemy AA. We take out the BT-42, another AA piece taken care of. Mortars doing the trick there. You see I have got 2 203s now. This one's still on the counter battery, looking for some big kills with that high caliber. M10 takes out the 60th. M4A1's in a good position to support against those 60th. So now we're getting basically full control because 17th Division, after it's pushed out of the forest, is going to have a real bad time. They don't really have any armor to really cover what I'm doing. So, like, he's probably run out of AT guns. Like, he was trying to use artillery, but yeah, as soon as you lose the infantry combat in the forest, it's just over. And the way that I've more or less secured this is by using the like 60mm mortars to support, but also just kind of like overwhelming our enemy and using like good tank support. On this left hand side you can see I've got loads of M4s hanging about just ready to ambush any tanks that get too close. Nice gun jam there from the M10, gets a good crit onto the Panther D. It's going to take that out of the action. Focke-Wulf 190 unfortunately still getting the rockets on target though, as Elamau is heavily reliant on them now in order to clean up our armor. Otherwise, I'm just able to run straight up to the spawn here, which I have managed to decap the last of the units ahead of us. Just got to be careful of the tanks coming in on the left there. Another Avkada Panther D. Also, since it's right next to the spawn, I don't have to go long to bring in a supply in order to fix up that gun jam. So that's exactly what they're doing right now. Trying to make as much ground as possible. Unfortunately, Panzerschreck takes out, or Panzerfaust, sorry, takes out the M8. Panther takes out the M4. And yeah, my push for the spawn road here, maybe a little bit overzealous. Lost me a lot of tanks. P-47 almost getting its bombs off. Would have been really, really nice onto that artillery unit. But P-47 here does at least manage to drop napalm onto the Panther D, doing some good damage to that. And we're still holding our position here. It's just unfortunate that we're not on a double tick at the moment. Still 14-10. A little ways to go in this game as we continue to push forwards with the Nisei. M10s trying to get into position to get their APCR on target of these Panthers, because the Panthers are the main thing that are causing me issues here, and they would usually cause you issues if you're playing as this division. Like, your main counter to Panthers with this division is either your 90mm AA or your M10s. I guess you could also bomb them, but it's less reliable. So the M10s here, they've really got to hit the mark with those APCR. At the moment, currently trying, but the first shot there actually gonna get that one bailed out. Not ideal. Yeah, in a long range engagement, it would probably be a little bit easier because you'd be able to kind of see the like Panthers from a distance, and then like utilize multiple M10s in order to trade like efficiently. But regardless, double Nisei unloading here, taking out the 40mm. M4's coming up to help take out the 150mm artillery. Just got to be careful with that Pack 40, and these Nisei might as well start running away, because whilst again they can't be surrendered, they are still vulnerable to damage once those infantry get close. So just trying to pull them back into cover, get them into this tree line, and then we can continue to hold back the next wave of infantry heading in from our opponent. You can see that he just has like unbelievable amounts of these infantry. So M4A1 getting taken out there by the 75mm. I do still have this one in a good position here, so whilst these are falling back, this one can still try and get into a position where it can catch these out in the open. On the left hand side, 90mm cleans up the Stug 4. Now going to be looking for shots onto the Panthers here. And this is where these 90mm can really, really shine. Big kill there onto the Panther D. Now looking for the next one. Fired really quickly there. When they switch from AP to HE, they do fire very, very quickly. Enemy Focke-Wulfs coming in for the strafing run. You managed to pin it down, unfortunately. So Panther D might just be able to finish us off, but double bailout here onto these M10s. Did manage to get a supply to fix them up, thankfully. Get them recrewed, sorry. And now hoping that they can help with these other units at long range, since they do have APCR. You can see here, good example of that M10 taking ages to get its shots on target. But we're still in range to get the Stug 4s back here with the second. And they're not in range to fire back, so just a matter of time until that APCR hits the mark. So it was a bit scary for a little while, but we've managed to kind of keep them held back here. Like, the Panther was causing me issue. The Stugs coming in there were potentially going to be causing me issues, but Yeah, we've got into a nice position here on this tree line. And since we've been killing a lot of their artillery on the backside, there's not really much to kind of clean that up. Nisei almost completely surrounded here, but doing a decent job of engaging the enemy infantry. Panzergrenz, close range. Not going to be any match for the Nisei. Another 152 mil in position is going to be the target of my 203s. I now have 4 of the 203 mils in play, and you can see that they are putting pressure onto the spawn roads since we are that far up. But a good target would certainly be those artillery pieces, as we don't want them firing at my 90 mil here. And as you can see, it has been taken out. Up in flames now. Rockets coming in from the left is looking for another of my 90 mils. Those M2 guns had been helping me out a lot, both on the ground and against units in the air. And more infantry on the way as these mortars retreating again. I've also got these on fire at will now, as you might have noticed, because when it gets to the point where you have so many like mortars and also all of this artillery back here, just putting the mortars onto fire at will on the front line is absolutely fine. Just got to make sure you move them in between firing. Doesn't matter so much for the 40-point mortars, but for the more expensive mortar carriers, it kind of is important. Either way, with a lot of my AA kind of being broken down over time due to the artillery hitting the 90 mils and the rockets coming in, the Focke-Wulfs do get a bit of a field day here, just absolute turkey shoot onto some of my American armor. 2 M4s going down and the M10. But after 46 minutes and 44 seconds, that is going to be victory. And what a fun game it was. Yeah, 6,916 kills to 4,345 losses. Elamau did honestly put up a really good fight with the 17th. Kept me out of those trees for a long time. Unfortunately, once I got a bit of a foothold in there, it did fall apart. And it also comes down to the fact that the 17th is not really a top tier division by any means. And I would say that Task Force 45 probably is a much more higher tier division. So you've got to bear that in mind. But yeah, overall, fantastic. And check out that Nisei Highland. What a fantastic job that Nisei squad did. This is one of the main reasons that I wanted to show off this replay in particular, because there's just a ridiculous amount of kills for that infantry squad. You can see the M2s doing a decent job as well for us, and then the artillery kind of helping out a little bit, not too much, but yeah, great stuff. One of the Finnish infantry there actually doing a good job. Now, the best way for him to be using the Finnish infantry in this scenario would have been to try and catch me out in the light cover, where I can't use the Thompson, but he can use the Suomi, because there are areas of light cover in that right side tree line. But either way, yeah, I would say that he put up a good fight, and he didn't give up. That's another thing. So yeah, nice try. But unfortunately, that is it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this look at the Task Force 45 and, of course, Valley of Death once again. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.